Oh, holy sh**. What a rush. Hey guys, Apexus here. Welcome to my first official vlog on my channel. I'm riding Rachel. Those of you that saw my first ever video, which was the Rachel's reveal and I guess kind of transformation, would have already met her. I'll put, those of you that haven't watched it, I'll put a little link here and you can have a look at that. So yeah, make sure to go watch that before watching here, and then you'll meet Rachel. Rachel is a 2012 R1 and she is my obsession at the moment. Yeah, so I guess a good way for my first vlog to go would be to kind of tell you guys why I started or why I want to start motovlogging, I guess. Yeah, so on my home feed in YouTube, those recommended channels, you know, the ones where there's usually nothing good to watch, was actually a motovlogging channel, and I was still sort of new to the idea of motovlogging, and that was where I saw it. And I'm sure you guys would have heard of, if you watch motovlogs, things like that, you would have heard of Chase on Two Wheels. So that was the one of his videos was one of the first videos, motovlog videos I kind of watched, and I was intrigued by the notion of, you know, just riding around on my motorcycle, or someone riding around on a motorcycle and just, you know, talking about various things. Chase does a lot of gear reviews and bike reviews, and so I started looking at more motovloggers. I looked at the likes of Cycle Cruiser over in the States. Chase is also in the States, I believe. And then I sort of, I got hooked. I got the bug. I love riding, I love motorbikes, and so, you know, watching people talk about motorcycles while riding motorcycles just was, to me, seems like a genius idea. And then I stumbled upon Adrian Nickelodeon's channel. He's, and I live in Sydney, as you guys probably gathered. And so yeah, I started recognizing all the roads he was riding on, and I sort of empathized with all the problems he had, because, you know, owning an R1 myself, and some of the problems we ran into, and more so the amount of people in Sydney that are constantly trying to kill you while you're on your motorcycle. So guys, he's got it perfect, 100% right. There's so many people on their phones all the time, drivers around here don't really pay attention. I mean, even if you're in a car, it's still fairly dangerous because people don't tend to pay attention, like this guy here wandering into my lane. They just don't pay attention while they're riding, and this guy here that's right up my rear end. Why are you following me? I changed lanes because you were up my asshole. I started watching more and more of them, and I'm always on my bike. Like, I mean, I've got the two bikes, and I do have a car, which I very, very, very rarely drive. And before you start thinking I'm some rich kid, it's just a piece of crap car that I bought for very little money. Basically just to get me around when it's just too unsafe to ride, so storms and things like that. But I started watching, and I'm always on my bike, and I love sort of riding. I love the whole experience of it all, and you know, I thought I've got a few things to share myself. I'm quite handy. I do all the servicing for my bike myself, any upgrades and things like that. I do all that myself. I've been riding for quite a while. I was riding dirt bikes and things like that when I was younger, and sort of just naturally progressed onto road bikes, which, as those of you who would have made the transition from dirt bike to road bike will know, that dirt bike skills don't at all translate into road bike skills, and so it's like starting from scratch. So that's, I guess, a little bit about me, and why I got into motovlogging is, I mean, I feel like I can help a lot of new riders and new to motorcycling, and I guess also, you know, seasoned riders, it always helps to brush up. And plus, I think Sydney is quite a beautiful city to live in, and I guess I'll show you around Australia, show you the sights wherever I go. My camera tends to be on. Yeah, I feel like I guess I got some entertainment value to add, hopefully. And if I don't, well, that's fine. You don't have to watch. But thanks for being here anyway. I think I missed my turn. Actually, I'm pretty sure I missed my turn. Bugger. Yep, missed my turn. Oh no, I didn't. No, I didn't. back to the reason of why I got into motovlogging. So I heard of a few mates that sort of just recently started riding themselves, and I've been running into a lot of new riders. I think because it's we're having some fairly hot weather in Sydney. You start to see all the bikes come out, and then once bikes come out, people sort of tend to get the bug, and you start seeing a lot of new learner riders on the streets and around various places. I'm quite a friendly fella. I like to have a chat, especially about motorbikes. I don't care what you ride, if it's a 125 or a 1000. A motorcycle's a motorcycle. I also don't care if you ride a cruiser or a sports bike, as long as you're on two wheels, it's right by me, and I can appreciate any kind of motorbike. So I'm always happy to have a chat, and when you are at these places where there's a lot of bikes around, people always tend to walk around, look at each other's bikes and have a bit of a chat. And I've been chatting to a lot of new riders, and there is a lot of information out there for new riders, I know, but I guess it's the curse of almost too much information, and some of it's hard to follow and some of it's contradictory. So me saying that is a little contradictory, because I'm now putting more information out there myself, but I'm hopefully going to put it in a way where that's easy to understand and kind of easy to follow. And I'm always happy to take criticism. I'm always happy to be pulled up on something if somebody thinks, it's not particularly right or whatever it is, provided it's in a constructive way. I don't have time for people that want to sort of get into arguments for the sake of arguing. I'm more than happy to have a discussion with someone, and I'm also always happy to be challenged. I'm happy to say I'm wrong when I'm wrong and things like that. So mainly what I wanted to get across is that there's a lot of misinformation for new riders out there as well, and there's some things that are just never really discussed. I mean, one thing that was brought up to me recently, and I'll leave it as a topic for another day, but one thing that was brought up to me recently by a new rider was how a lot of his mates were I missed my exit. A lot of his mates had started riding a little before him. Some were further along in terms of getting their license. So in Australia we have a licensing system, which actually I quite agree with, so you go from learner to a provisional rider and then to a provisional 2 rider if you're under 21, and then you go to an open class license, and basically there's restrictions at each stage. So learner and provisional riders can't ride certain bikes for certain reasons. So it used to be, back in the day, you couldn't ride anything over 250cc. I didn't particularly agree with that, mainly because some people, their body isn't suited to a 250cc. So you'll see this sort of big hulking mass of a man on this tiny bike, and it's quite awkward for them. So then they revised that law and made it sort of a power to weight ratio deal, where so you can ride some 650s, not all of them. For example, Hayley, well, she's not anymore, but when I first got her, it was restricted, and the way they do it is they put where the throttle opens and closes, they just put a little latch there so the throttle doesn't open all the way. But there are some 650s, there are some 500s. I know the CBRs, you can ride some of them. So basically you can't ride anything that's too crazy or too powerful. You definitely can't ride any 1000s, nothing with a power ratio that's really too hard. And I quite agree with that, because I think when you're first starting out, especially if you've never ridden before, it can be quite daunting. And just the bikes with the lower power to weight ratio are just a lot more forgiving. For example, on Hayley, my 650 that I have, if I make sort of sudden or quick or choppy throttle movements, it doesn't really affect it that much. I mean, you shouldn't do it, but if by accident, you hit a bump or something happens and your hand just opens up, it's quite easy to rein her in. Whereas with Rachel here, like she's in second gear, we're very low revs, and you just give her a bit and she just kind of surges forward. Much less forgiving, for example, especially when doing something like this, when going around the roundabout all the way in first gear. Now I just let that roll around, but so a new novice rider might have chopped the throttle a little bit, and then the nose takes a dive. And look, it's happened to me a few times in terms of the nose wanting to dive, and if you don't have that experience to stop the bike tipping over, it can be very hard to do. So Rachel here can break all sorts of laws in first gear alone, and it's not something. So aside from the danger aspect, there's also the legal aspect. When you first ride a motorcycle, you're very, very excited, and you're happy to be out there on two wheels, and after you've been out there for a couple of months, you start to get a bit cocky, you start to get a bit confident, and you start to, perhaps start pushing the limits. Now, I'm not saying you can't break the law on a 650 or a 250 or a 150 or a 125. You definitely can. I'm just saying it's much, much easier to take it much, much further on a bike like this. You know what I mean? So like, if I open up in first gear, within like 3 seconds, I'm going to be much further along down the road at a much quicker speed than I would on the 650. And the 650, I'd probably change gears a few times before I sort of get myself into any real trouble. And you can get that rush of sort of feeling like you're going quick, or get that rush of changing gears and being a little bit aggressive with the bike on the 650s without having to get your speed up too high. So it'll rev out real quick and you'll hear the bike and it'll get your blood pumping. Whereas with the thousands, especially around these sorts of streets, if you're revving out in first gear, you're going very, very, very quick. And not only is that sort of, can get you into a lot of trouble legally, I cannot see. Not only can they get you into a lot of trouble legally, it can also get you into a lot of dangerous situations. If something pulls out, you're perhaps not as versed in emergency stopping. Now, I'm not saying that if you have a bit of experience, you should go flat out. You definitely shouldn't. Not on public roads. The track's the place for that to happen. But if especially when you're inexperienced, you're more likely to have that lapse in judgment or have that lapse in focus where that does happen. Sort of went away from my topic a bit there, but yes, why they introduced those particular sort of restrictions and stuff to keep people safe, and I quite agree with them. So as I was saying, the question that was asked was his mates were sort of a little bit further along in the stage of licensing, or where they were at, and sometimes when they'd go for a ride, he's kind of struggling to keep up and is having to push himself to keep up with them, and that's a very dangerous thing to do, guys. In fact, I might even, I don't know where I'm going. I'm supposed to have a meeting with a client of mine. I don't know where I am. And we'll take you. Thank you. So whilst it is good to get out perhaps with someone with a bit more experience when you are first starting out, I also would recommend against going out with someone who's going to kind of push you past your limits, because the last thing you want is to not know where you're going and so be struggling to keep up with a group and then be riding above your limits, because that's where accidents happen. I've seen it too many times, a learner or a provisional rider riding with a bunch of experienced riders, and then the experienced riders perhaps, against some good judgment, get a bit excited or start to go quick and start to get their bikes over on the bends and things like that, and the novice rider, just simply because he doesn't know where he's going, needs to keep up and starts to push himself past the limit. Next thing you know, they lose control and it can get very ugly and can really, really ruin your day. So he asked me, what I thought about things like that, because we were just talking about group riding in general, because we were on a group ride. And I figured things like that, perhaps, it might help to have explained in a forum that's hopefully friendly. We will know soon enough, I guess. So yeah, anyway, I'll get back to this vlog after I do this meeting. So yeah, hang in there. I mean, well, you guys won't have to hang in there. It'll be instant for you when I'm back. So here we go, and gone. Probably shouldn't be going that quick while squidding, hey. So, those of you that are particularly more absorbent? Yes, absorbent. Yes, if you've been absorbing things, I'm an idiot. I'll start again. Those of you that have been particularly more observant will notice I'm in a different place and a different time of day. There is a reason for that, which I will tell you now. Basically what happened is, after I finished up with my meeting, I came outside, turned my camera on, jumped on my bike and recorded the rest of that vlog. Now, one of three things may have happened. The footage may have corrupted, the battery may have died, or I could have forgotten to press record. Now, I'm not going to specify exactly which one of those it was, but rest assured it was one of those. I didn't want to really leave the vlog ending on the note that we kind of stopped on because I didn't really say bye or sign off or kind of wrap up what I was saying. So I thought I'd jump on the bike quickly and have a bit of a chat, just to at least finish up the thought that I was having. So I was talking about why I had gotten into vlogging, and I covered a little bit about the Australian licensing system, and then discussed the question that I had been asked by a learner rider whilst on a group ride. And if you do like that sort of content, please feel free to subscribe. I will be posting other things. So it's another reason that I did get into motovlogging is I'm quite a film sort of enthusiast. I'm an amateur photographer, and I like editing and things like that, which you may have noticed from, what is that? No. So I do like editing film and photos and things like that, which you may have noticed from my first video, which was the reveal, which I posted a link to before. I shot all of that myself. I did all of the editing myself, all the color grading I did myself. While it might not be perfect, I'm proud of it because I did it all myself. So that's another reason I want to start motovlogging. It gives me a chance to produce some content and experiment with certain things when it comes to film and editing and photography and things like that. I'm quite handy in Photoshop, so before I do any improvements or upgrades, especially visual upgrades to my bike, I like to know what they're going to look like or have some sort of an idea of how they're going to turn out. Or especially if I'm doing some custom stuff, I do like to give the people that are designing it for me something visual to work with, so I tend to do mock-ups in Photoshop and things like that. I also like to edit photos of my bike, so I'll put a few up now as I'm talking for you guys to just have a look at. But so I also did, so for Rachel's transformation, I actually did a mock-up of the final color scheme before I went ahead and bought the fairings and did all those things. Hey, I won! So yeah, so before I went ahead and did all the fairings and bought all the fairings and paid all that money, I actually did a few mock-ups in Photoshop, which I'll put up now for you guys to have a look at. And I find it just helps me get a visual of what the final result's going to be, to see whether I like it. Usually I'll do it, then I'll leave it for a couple of weeks or a couple of days. Depends how excited I am. And then I will and then I'll look at it again, see if I'm still as excited to buy it, and if I am, then I'll go ahead and do it. So you'll notice the final version ended up looking a little different to that mock-up, mainly because it just kind of evolved over time. And if you guys are interested in stuff like that, please let me know. I'm happy to post more stuff. I'm happy to post some tutorials on potentially how you could do that yourself, or if you're not that savvy with Photoshop, or you don't have Photoshop, or you're not that savvy with a computer, although let's face it, those people are few and far in between these days. I'm happy to help out. So if you do have a particular idea you're toying with, be it a color scheme, a new part, or something that you'd like to see how it would look on your bike before the Breon Road near Concord Road, just cause, oh, that's nice of them. Yeah, so if you'd like to see something, how it's going to turn out before you purchase something, please feel free to message me. I'd be happy to help out. Look, I can't promise that I'll get to all of your requests, but I'll get to as many as I can and as many as I have time to do. Sort of just my way to help out, really. So yeah, just send me a message, send me an idea of what you kind of want, and I'd be happy to help you. So I'll leave it there for now. Thanks for sticking around, those of you that stuck around to the end of this video. I'll be posting videos weekly, so it'll be every Wednesday at 7 PM Sydney time. And yeah, keep tuned. And if you like what you see, guys, if you like what you hear, please feel free to leave a like. If you don't like what you hear, feel free to dislike the video. If you do dislike the video, please let me know why in the comments below, and I'll try to improve as I get along. I'm always happy to hear feedback and criticism. And if you're just looking for somewhere to vent and yell and be a general dick, then feel free to do so, but I won't really reply to those comments. Other than that, I'll catch you later.